When I was talking to Terrence Woodbury, his research last year showed that black male voter turnout in North Carolina played a role in the Republican keeping his United States Senate seat. Yeah, that's the actual data. So part of the thing when you hear people talk about, oh, what's happening with black male voters, is you have to understand this is not a national issue, but it also depends on critical states. We also heard the myth that black men were not voting for Stacey Abrams. Well, after the election, the data was parsed, and that simply wasn't true. That was a fallacy that was being promoted, but it wasn't factual. So the question is, how do you also get black men to, one, register, two, turn out, and then the question is, who do they vote for? Dr. Wes Bellamy is the Chair of Advocacy at 100 Black Men of America. He joins us from Charlottesville, Virginia. Wes, glad to have you here. Let's talk about that, because you heard me say earlier, you have to have different targeted strategies for different people. If Democrats are going to target black men, you better have a specific targeting of them that's different from black women. Wes, all right. Okay, Wes, I think your video froze there. We got your back. Go ahead.
There we go. So, one, thanks so much for having me, good brother Roland. You are one of my favorite. Actually, tell Layla to stop calling, please.
There you go. I think we unfroze. Go right ahead. Start again.
I was saying thank you so much for having me, good brother. You're one of my favorite alphas, and that's where the compliments are going to end. But in all seriousness, I appreciate you having us on today. So you're absolutely right. Specifically, when you look at the 100 Black Men of America, some of the initiatives in which we're pushing, we're unveiling our Real Men Vote 2.0 campaign, in which across our 107 chapters across the country, we are looking to register every single brother that is in the 100 Black Men of America to vote. That's over 10,000 members who we are incentivizing them to be registered to vote, but then also we're kicking off a 30-city tour, if you will, town halls, talking about the importance of brothers getting out the vote and then being educated on the issues within the localities in terms of who they should be voting for and what they should be looking for when it comes to casting their ballot. One of the things that I think that we often see is, one, just be candid, politicians and elected officials, as a former elected official, people take the black male vote for granted. They'll only come around when election season is happening. We only see them have conversations about our issues with barbershop talks or come and talk with us brothers. And those initiatives, those ways of going and reaching brothers, they may fit for a certain segment, but they don't fit for everyone. So I agree with you. There has to be a multi-tiered and multifaceted approach, and that's what we're looking to unveil with the 100 Black Men. I also see organizations like the Black Voters Project and others looking at different strategies, also addressing and attacking the black male vote. And I'm looking forward to not only collaborating with other entities, but us creating real, not only digital strategies, but strategies to fit a multitude of different brothers to engage us in the electoral process.
Somebody asked me, they were asking me about this, and it was a very interesting conversation, because I had to lay some things out that they didn't want to necessarily deal with. Mm-hmm. And this is what I said. And I said, let me be perfectly clear. I am astute enough to understand the paternalism of the civil rights movement, of the paternalism of this country, of misogyny in this country as well. There were a lot of people who made the assumption that men were not supporting Hillary Clinton in 2016 because she was a woman. And then I had to take the folks back to the data to show black men, the 9-point gap between black men and black women with Obama and Romney in 2012. I said that was two men who were running. And so they then were like, well, I don't quite understand. I said, well, I'll give you an example. When Doug Jones won the special election in Alabama, every story, the entire storyline, black women elect Doug Jones. And it was at 96%. But 92% of black men supported Doug Jones. And what I have heard from a lot of black men is that All they've heard is black girl magic, black girl magic, black girl magic, black girl magic, as if black men are also not voting. Now, are black women voting at a higher rate? Yes. But that refrain is a turnoff to some black men who feel as if they are deemed irrelevant. Your thoughts?
No, I would agree with you wholeheartedly, but I also would encourage our brothers to understand that we can't have our feelings hurt so easily when it comes to who's quote unquote getting the credit for saving the democracy. We have to do what we have to do regardless of who's being lauded for your voting here or the higher percentage turnout. But I also would encourage Democratic pundits, Democratic analysts and so forth to put more resources into ensuring that black males, one, are not only registered to vote, but also that they feel appreciated in their vote. So, I mean, two things can be true. Brothers can't be so sensitive when it comes to who's getting the credit for electing whom, but also there needs to be efforts and mechanisms made to ensure that we feel appreciated and valued when we do go out and vote.
But I agree, and I absolutely agree with that. But perception does become reality, and we have to contend with this reality as well, and that is when we're talking about what they're hearing. And let's talk about the Biden administration. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes, Biden talks about, I said I was going to put a black woman on the Supreme Court, and I did. Absolutely right. Should have happened. Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. Obama should have appointed a sister when he chose Merrick Garland. I was very clear on that. Mm-hmm. Biden talks about putting more black women on the appellate courts than all presidents combined. But one of the things that I've said to the Biden administration, you don't have a prominent black male surrogate.
Yes.
And I'm like, when I look, and again, I'm just being very clear. When I look at who was head of the OMB, a sister, look at the vice president, sister, and let me be real clear. I'm not knocking any of that. But what I am saying, if you're the Biden-Harris administration and you're trying to reach black men, who are they sending out who's a brother who can talk to brothers?
Well, I'm not here to cape.
No. Follow me.
Let me answer the question.
Right. I'm not caping for any party, but I'm giving an example of how campaigns and candidates need to understand your messengers are kind of important when you're trying to reach certain groups.
Yeah, and I think the Biden administration would say when they send out a brother like the former mayor of Columbia, South Carolina, Mayor Steve Benjamin, who's the head of African-American engagement, when they would send out someone like Vince Evans, who's over helping assist with the CBC and whatnot, they would, in my personal estimation, would say those are the persons who they're sending out to the black male community and saying you need to be engaged in some regard, the Antoine C. Wrights of the world and so forth. Now, is that enough? Absolutely not. And you know, just like I know, there needs to be more resources, not only poured into advocating for black males to be engaged in the voting process, but courting black males to stay engaged and being educated on why they need to be voting and or supporting the Biden administration if they so choose to. Here's another thing, though, I think we have to be candid about. There are a ton of misinformation programs and initiatives that are out. And I cannot tell you how often I serve as the Housing Authority chairman of the Housing Authority Board where I live here in Charlottesville. I can't tell you how often when I'm in particular communities, how much misinformation is shared and how often I hear brothers now saying, you know, maybe I should take a look at the other side because they're supporting us in some regard because of some misinformation in which they've heard.
Yep.
So yes, there has to be resources, as you often allude to, being placed to specifically court, as my grandmother would say, the black male vote. But I think collectively, black folk as a whole need not be taken for granted. And that's where you see organizations like the 100 Black Men and others, the Urban League, NAACP, some of your legacy organizations, also new organizations like, again, Black Youth Vote, Black Voters Matter, and so forth, putting in the work on the ground to ensure that our brothers are educated so that they can make a decision that best suits them.
And again, I'm a firm believer that misinformation is able to take hold when you have an absence of counter information.
Yes.
And yet we have to recognize that that is real. And Russia was very keen on spreading misinformation, specifically targeting black people and black men in 2020. Questions from the panel on Congo, you're first.
It's great to talk to you, Dr. Bellamy. I'm a big supporter of your work. I have a question relating to the hip hop community. One of my concerns as it relates to the black male vote is that I'm starting to see more rappers coming out in support of Trump. I'm looking at Kivo, Waka Flocka Flame, Kodak Black, Sexy Red, and one of my concerns is that these are some of the people that are going to be driving away some of the youth vote, particularly in our community, which also ties into the last segment. And on the same side, I'm not hearing enough from members of the hip hop community that who are anti-Trump. What are your thoughts as it relates to outreach, as it relates to the hip hop community?
Well, I actually posted about this on my Instagram page a couple weeks ago, and I think it's something for us to pay a great deal of attention to. Sexy Red, as you alluded to, came out and stated that, well, yeah, in the hood, people love Trump. Yeah, we love Trump. We're riding with Trump. Trump sent us those checks. You heard a rapper like Lil Durk say in his record, his smash hit, All My Life with J. Cole, say people talk about those stimulus, but they really came through in the trenches. And a lot of folks, due to misinformation and not understanding that Congress, not the person 45, actually disseminated and sent the checks to the American people during the times of COVID. And because individuals aren't educated on how this process works and how resources and stimulus resources, if you will, are actually put in the hands of our communities, because by and large, the Democratic Party doesn't do a good enough job of educating people on the ground or empowering or resourcing those who are on the ground to educate folks, then again, you have misinformation that's spread. So when it comes to the hip hop community as a whole, one, I don't think it's fair, quote unquote, not saying this is what you're saying, but I don't think it's fair for us to say that we should be looking for rappers and entertainers to politically educate us, although they do have a voice. I would say that you have individuals like Jeezy, you have individuals like Jay-Z, you have individuals like Method Man and so forth, who have been vocal about the need for us to be on the front lines and voting with our brains and not just the misinformation that we're receiving on social media. So there is some combating it, but we all know that on social media and the like, when a rapper or entertainer says that they're riding with Trump, that's going to drive their views through the roof. When you have someone like Kodak Black, who, shout out to Yak, and, there's a lot of young folk who listen to his music, but that doesn't mean that they're going to be voting for him. And I say this all the time in Charlottesville. If someone like Kodak Black has more influence on the young people from a political standpoint than I do, a person who's been elected, a person who's been on the ground, who's interacting with my people on a day-to-day basis, if Kodak has more influence on the ground than me, that means that we're doing something wrong. Our young folks shouldn't be looking to entertainers for their political influence. We need to be more engaged on the ground to ensure that our people are educated to make the best decision.
Well, and let me also, but part of the issue is also Democrats got to learn how to take credit for shit. So what Democrats should be saying is, hold up, we control the House. You ain't getting none of them checks without us. Trump may have put his name on there, but we were the ones who you got them checks because of us. Just like I keep trying to tell all these people, oh, Trump let black men out of jail. Ain't no first step unless it gets passed by the Democratic controlled House, and that effort was being led by Congressman Hakeem Jeffries.
Right, exactly.
Those are facts. Matt?
Yeah, Dr. Bellamy, thanks for joining us tonight. I mean, it seems to me the reality of it is if there's no price to pay for not reaching out to black men, then there will be no reach out to black men. So my question to you is, what have you seen as points of leverage or fulcrums, if you will, to make not only the Democratic Party, but just the larger system care about black men being involved at all? And I can't imagine that they do. But to me, it seems like you respond to fear more than you do anything else. And if you're afraid that leaving us out is going to culminate in you losing elections, then that's where it seems the response would be. What are your thoughts in that respect?
Well, I think that you're absolutely right. I mean, I think many parties and larger institutions who believe in which their leading voter engagement initiatives try to lead with fear. But I think it's more important, just my personal opinion, it's more important for us to lead with education. It's more important for a certain population of people to lead with empathy and showing them how the decisions that you make today have an impact on tomorrow. There's important for certain initiatives and for different populations to be led with whatever it takes to tap into what it is and the things in which they care about. But for me personally, I think that it's of the utmost importance for us to educate our brothers specifically on how important it is for us to vote on the local and state level first.
Yep.
When we can show them, when you go and vote for me in this local election, I can then help you specifically go and do this. When we make that connection, then we see a higher level of engagement. But the thing is, that requires work, not talking. That's not a panelist discussion. That's not something that you just do on social media. That requires you to go into our communities and talk to our people. And that's where I'm hoping that there will be more resources poured into us getting onto the ground to educate our brothers with other brothers who know better about why you have to be tapped in locally, because that's where everything starts.
Yep. Exactly.
Michael?
Hey, Dr. Wes Bellamy, this is a great conversation. I was talking to a friend of mine, Keith Williams, who's chairman of the Michigan Black Democratic Caucus. And he was talking about how he was talking to African-American men in the neighborhoods here in the city of Detroit. And some of them said they were going to support Donald Trump because they want to own their own businesses. And they see they are under this illusion that if Trump is president, somehow he's going to help them own their own business. Can you dispel that myth and talk about efforts that the Biden-Harris administration have made to help African-American entrepreneurs and African-American male entrepreneurs?
Well, sure. One, again, I'm not a surrogate, nor am I a representative for the Biden-Harris administration. Let me be clear. But I do think that there are a few things that we all can point to, or excuse me, that the administration can point to, and which that they've done to support Black males as well as Black folk as a whole on an economic and a business perspective. When you look at the amount of money, there literally have been hundreds of millions of dollars poured into different communities from this administration to support not only minority business initiatives, but MBE. I don't want to call them, well, I'm just not going to go there. There are different initiatives that have been placed from the administration to states to be able to get these monies funneled into different communities. But here's where I think the problem lies. Brothers don't know about the resources that are available. And why don't they know about the resources that are available? Because, as Roland alluded to, Democrats as a whole don't do a good enough job of talking about, one, here are the things that are here for you. And secondly, they do a very horrible job of, this is what I have already done. So if people don't know what's out there and they don't know what you've done thus far, then of course they're going to believe any slim back with a red face and blonde hair that's been bleached to oblivion when he says that, yeah, I've done this for you and you don't have anything to lose because I'm rich. Like, unfortunately, misinformation and hot takes, they land with a lot of communities who don't have information. So, again, the Biden-Harris administration, as Brother Roland alluded to, they have to do a better job of communicating not only what's out there, but the resources that are available to you. And that is only done on the ground by dealing and working with people on a day-to-day basis. You're in Detroit. I look at folks like New Era and the brother Big Zeke, who's been going around community to community and ensuring that these communities are safe, walking around with brothers who are armed and his colleagues, if you will, to say that we're going to stop the violence within our communities. If the Biden-Harris administration wants to be able to get on the ground, then they have to not only work with brothers like Brother Williams, and shout out to Brother Keith and Brian Banks of the world, so we all have a great time at CBC, but they got to be willing to work with the Big Zekes of the world who are in the communities, in the trenches, on the day-to-day. and who are ensuring that our people are not only safe, but these are trusted voices within our community. And again, I can't emphasize enough, specifically for Black men, we're willing to trust other Black men when we know that you're not going to do us wrong, but we can see your track record of leading us not astray, but into a place of prosperity, if you will. And those people, those persons don't always receive the resources, and that's where things have to change.
Well, what I keep laying out is very simple, folks. You look at what is going to happen over the next year, not just the presidential election, U.S. Senate congressional races, but gubernatorial races, state house races. There are issues that specifically impact Black people, and I don't care what anybody says, the Republican Party, if you look at how they're trying to screw Black voters in Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Louisiana, I can go on and on, North Carolina, Texas, they ain't looking out for Black folks. Let's just be real clear. So this ain't, oh my God, you're loving a party. No, I'm looking at facts. Every state I just named, they specifically have been trying to disenfranchise Black voters. Every single one. Those are facts. And I dare anybody on the right to try to dispute them. Wes, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, my brother. Until next time.
Yes, sir.
Yo, yo.
What the hell was that?
I just had to let you know I showed you some love initially, and like I said, yo, yo, thanks for having me, good brother.
Oh, what is that, yo? I don't know what that little yo.
Here we go.
But I just said you did an okay job. That's what that means. That sign means okay. All right, folks, we're going to be in Richmond on Thursday with our next town hall with the House Virginia Democrats. Want y'all to come on out. Virginia Union University, we're going to be on the yard. So I want everybody to show up to Virginia Union. We want to pack the joint out, talking about the local elections, what's happening, the state elections. And so we'll see y'all 6 p.m. on Thursday at Virginia Union University. All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. Curl Prep Natural Hair Solutions. It's an amazing organic product, folk. Two-step curl defining system for women, men, and children. Now look at this video here and you can be the judge. Folks are lining up to see the product in action at various hair shows, and when they take a seat to try it, they don't believe it's actually their hair. Now you can buy the product at curlprep.com. Again, it's curlprep, curlprep.com. It works on all types of hair. Use the code ROLAND, lowercase letters, of course, to get a 20% discount. It's just simply 2 steps. They have sweet butter and sweet defining gel, both at curlprep.com. And of course, parents, you can remove the ouch. Y'all know what that's all about. You will love the system because you can comb the product through your child's hair with your fingers. Seasoned Saints, they also love the product, and the line has products that are great for twists, braids, locks, weaves, even those wigs and extensions. It's all at curlprep.com. Again, use the code ROLAND, lowercase letters, to get a 20% discount. You won't believe it's your hair.